Hello everyone and welcome to the Cherry Heart podcast. I'm Sandra and this is episode 112 of my knitting, crochet, sewing related podcast, and you'll be able to find the show notes for this podcast on my blog, which is cherryheart.co.uk, and I will link the show notes below in the down bar. You can also find me on Instagram as Sandra Cherry HRT and elsewhere around the web as Cherry Heart. You'll also find that I've popped video chapters in for this podcast. So there'll be timestamps in the down bar below, so you can just jump to the things you're most interested in, or there's a little bar along the bottom of the screen here with little segments on, and you can use that as well. So how are you? How have you been? Did you have a nice Christmas break? Did you celebrate Christmas or just get some time off maybe, or did you have to work it? Ugh. I'm lucky that I did get a Christmas break, and it was really nice. Yeah, it was good to have that time and to be able to see family this year. Last year the COVID restrictions came in and we ended up having Christmas just the three of us. So yeah, it was nice to see everyone this year and kind of do it properly, so to speak. Yeah, so I've been away for a while, so I'm just going to quickly cover that. I have posted on Instagram a little bit about it, but just in case you're not on there, I thought I'd quickly go into it here. Not that I'm going to go into too much detail, but yes, it has been a while since my last podcast, and it's just basically due to health issues. Next door's dogs are outside and they're barking quite a lot. Yes, so what was I saying? Yeah, just some health issues. I think I'd spoken in sort of, my podcasts before about sort of having a few back things going on. And yeah, just in November things kind of escalated and I started getting all kinds of other different symptoms. So yeah, the doctors had to run lots of tests and try and find out what was going on with me. And they did find out what was happening. So that's one thing. But now they have to find out what's causing it. So that means a whole load more tests and things. And obviously we had to have a kind of a break for Christmas. So yeah, so in the meantime, they're just kind of monitoring me. I have to have blood tests every week or every couple of weeks, depending on what the results are and how happy they are with what it shows. Yeah, so they kind of allowed me 2 weeks at Christmas, so that was good. And then I've just got another week. And then I'll have to have another blood test tomorrow and we'll see what that says. So yeah, it's weird living life in these little segments. But yeah, now I'm having the test to find out what's causing the issue, and then depending on what they say, we have to sort of see what the next stage is. There's sort of a couple of options of things that it could be causing it. Yeah. So it's an ongoing thing. It's just a sort of case of managing the symptoms as best I can, and like I say, it's being monitored, and I did have to go into hospital for a little while at the end of November while they kind of levelled things out for a bit, and I've managed to stay out and free since then, but obviously if they're not happy, I dare say I'll have to go in again. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange existence at the minute, sort of yeah, try to manage things as best as I can within what I can do, which isn't much really. Yeah, and then just sort of see if I get another week's freedom each time. So anyway, yeah, so that's to bring you up to date, but just to say I'm okay, but I'm not okay, if you see what I mean. I'm okay at the minute, but I think this is something that's going to tick on for a little bit longer until they figure it out, and then hopefully it doesn't tick on too much longer after that, but it depends what they find, doesn't it? So yeah, interesting times. But I'm going to move on from that quite quickly because, yeah, this is a knitting and crochet podcast, not a Sandra's Health Update podcast, so let's crack on with it. The first thing I have to show you, I don't actually have to show you. The first thing I finished and I've made, I have gifted. So I made a what did I make? I made a cardigan for my niece, a school cardigan. So I did post on Instagram before Christmas, me starting it, and then I think just the finished shot because I wasn't posting at the time, and then I completely forgot to take a picture. I'd intended to take a picture of her wearing it when I gave it to her, but I ended up giving it to her on Christmas Day, and you know what Christmas Day is like. It's all a bit crazy, so yeah, that just didn't happen. I'll just pop my little Instagram picture in here though, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about at all. But it's a sort of quite plain burgundy cardigan, and I used Starcraft Special to make it because I wanted something that was you know, easy to look after, so that can just be bunged in the washing machine, and you know, it's going to stand up to the wear and tear of someone wearing it to school, and it's going to get quite a bit of use, so that seemed like a good choice. I can't remember the exact colourway. I think it is literally the colour they call burgundy. I can't remember the number, but I'll pop it in show notes maybe if you really want to know. I think I have. Yeah, there's not a lot to say about it. The pattern I used, again, I'll pop it in show notes because I can't remember if I spoke about this before or not actually. But I kind of used it as a starting point, but to be honest I didn't really use it. It was like for a patterned cardigan in a slightly different style, and it wasn't quite the right size, so I kind of used it as a starting point because my mum had made these cardigans before and we weren't quite sure which pattern she'd use, so we went for the one that was sort of the closest size, and I kind of tried to adapt it a little bit to make the size a bit better, and then we subsequently found her other patterns which is a shame because I'd already got quite a way through it by then. So yeah, it was a bit of a make it up as you go along job, but I kind of want to make another one now to an actual pattern that would work. But yeah, I'll put that on the to-do list for now. So what else have I finished? I will show you these. So this is my November, what is it? How out of practice you get. Flower Garden quilt box. It's a sewing project, so these are the hexagons. So I've been making these all of last year, and you get a box each month, and this is a November box. So luckily I had got most of this done in November. I think this was pretty much the only one I had to put together, so I managed to do this over Christmas. And there were 3 hexagons in this box, so there was that one, this one here, and my favourite, which is this one. So that's all done, so I haven't got too far, pardon me, I haven't got too far behind with that, which is quite nice. And in the December box, there are there's almost like 2 boxes in one, because you get some finishing hexagons for December that finish off all of those that you need. But then there's also kind of like some filler pieces. So if you imagine these are joined, there's kind of a load of little filler bits to square it off that need to be made up as well. And there's quite a few of those bits actually. So that sort of feels like almost a whole nother month's worth of work of its own. So I might treat it like that and sort of think of December as one box and then the filler bits as another box. And then I can start thinking about actually constructing all the hexagons together and making a quilt out of it. Yeah, but I was pleased that I've got most of those done, or I've got it done now. And then the other thing that you kind of know about that I just managed to finish off with my Christmas time as well is my painted Anemones blanket. So this is my pattern, which I did finally get released last year after ages and ages. So the pattern is released, but it just didn't have the final pictures in because I wanted to make this version using all these lovely colours, and then I wanted to use the pictures of this in the pattern. So I've just got a few placeholder pictures in for the time being, but now this is all done I can take the pictures and hopefully find some time to get that pattern updated. So I just really had the... Did I have to put it to... No, I put it together as I went along, so I think I literally had just these filler hexes at the top to do, and then the border. So I haven't actually blocked this yet, which I don't think matters for the sort of main part of the blanket, but I just think the border needs just a little bit of, you know, it's a little bit curled from where I've just made it, so that just needs a little bit of straightening out and maybe a little spritz with some water or something to get it to lay a bit flat and nice. But yes, I'm very happy to have that done and be able to show it to you. Let's see if I can give you a bit better shot with it all in. No is the answer to that. There we go, that's kind of all of it. So the size I made is actually the smallest size in the pattern, so it's kind of a big, I don't know, a generous cot blanket size, I guess, or a smallish lap blanket. But then I've got two other sizes in the pattern, and obviously you could probably modify it if you wanted to, but just because of the way the border repeats work out, it isn't quite so easy to give you know, a standard sort of way to increase it, so I just went with the 3 sizes on that. So that's all I've finished and made. Now I just need to show you what I'm making. So I've only got one thing, and I'm working on a project using one of my advent calendars that I got this year. So what's the best way to show you this? Let's put them up there. So this is what I've got so far. So this pattern is the Polesden wrap by Amy Loudon. Couldn't think of the name. Who's Little Tailoress, or Tailoress Studios actually, I think, on Instagram. Yeah, so I've done a few colours so far and I'm loving that. But the yarn I'm using isn't exactly the correct yarn for the pattern. It's a double knit yarn, and so Amy gives 2 versions for the pattern, one with fingering weight and one with fingering weight and like a mohair held together. So I figured that the like fingering weight and mohair held together would work out a sort of a kind of comparable to DK, but because I've got like the mini skein, so I've only got a very specific amount, it's not working out exactly to fit one mini skein. Although having said that, I haven't swatched or anything, so maybe it does if you do it properly, I don't know. I just kind of started. So I have modified it slightly to make that work with the amount of yarn I've got, and I think I took 2 repeats off, And I'm doing one less of these garter rows as well. But I think it's still, you know, especially when it's blocked, I think it's still going to be nice and wide. So yeah, quite happy with that. And then the advent calendar that I'm using is the Beehive Yarns Advent. So those are the rest of my lovely minis to go in. So it starts with these sort of pinks, goes into sort of rusty oranges and browns, and then blues. Can you see that? Probably not. Yeah, there's the blues, and then it ends with these sort of slightly more tealy ones. So yeah, the only thing, I've just paused for a moment, because the only thing is, I changed the order slightly. So this, I've literally just done it in calendar order as I've got the days. That was my plan anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4, happy with that. Then it was this one, this is 5. Then it was going to be this pale one, this is 6. And then it goes into 7, which is quite vivid. And I thought that was quite a sort of a dramatic change from the pale. So I thought, well, I'll do the pale first next to this pink. Then I'll do this kind of more mid-tone one. And then I'll go to the bright orange. So I might... Well, I don't know. I don't know whether to stick to that, because I'm not entirely loving how this goes sort of mid, light, mid, and then back to really light again so soon. So I'm wondering whether to put this lighter one in here, then go for this mid one, then go for the slightly more orangey mid one, and then go for that bright. I'm sort of seriously contemplating doing that. But the other thing I realised is, because with each colour I do these garter stitches, then you do this sort of lace pattern. You need to use a different colour yarn just to finish those last garter stitches, because garter stitches at the beginning. So you'll need to do, in the last yarn, you'd need to do garter stitches, lace, and then garter stitches. But these are only big enough for me to do the garter stitches and the lace. It won't be big enough for me to do some more garter stitches afterwards. And at the end is this lovely teal colour, but I've only got 2 of these kind of teal colours, which means I'll be able to use one to make one section, and the other one I'll only be able to use a little bit to kind of do the garter rows. So there won't be very much of this colour, and I quite like this colour. I quite like the idea of using like as much as I can of both of those. So what I should have done is actually started with these colours and worked that way. So what I might do instead is, there's this colour here. So this comes later in the calendar. I can't remember what colour it was, what number it was, but it comes sort of later in the calendar in these browns. And when I laid them all out again, I just found it's very red compared to sort of some of the browns. But then after you go to the browns, you then start to go to the blues. So sort of between the browns and the blues, I thought it sort of just stood out a little bit. But it is pretty close to this first colour. So what I might do is oink that out of the order, start again with just a few rows of this colour, garter rows, to do the garter rows. Then I'll switch to this colour and I'll start doing it the other way around. So I'll do the, you know, if I've got my garter rows in lace in this at the bottom, then I'll work my lace in this first colour, and then I'll do the garter rows in that colour, and then work up that way, and that will sort of turn the pattern round, so it'd be like I worked it the other way up. So I think I might do that. I could just start again with these, I suppose, but I've already wound these up and started, so I think I'll just undo these and start again, which is kind of annoying. And I kind of sort of thought, oh, I don't want to bother with all that faff. This is supposed to be a nice kind of easy, mindless project that, you know, I could just work through knocking the colours off. But I much prefer these ones, these colours, to these kind of darky browny red colours, so I would rather have less of those and more of these. So I'm just going to undo it. And you know, it's not like I've made that much progress. It won't take me that long to get back again, and I think I'll be glad I've done it. So I'm just going to go for it. So that's that one. And then the only other thing to talk about is incoming goodies, of which I haven't got much because I haven't been buying really much yarn, especially obviously while I've been ill. But I do have some advent calendars to show you. And I also got, as I get every year now, it's become a little tradition, a brand new bullet journal for 2022. But I won't talk about this here. I actually recorded a separate podcast where I just did a quick flip through and showed you what I've put in there. So if you are interested in the bullet journal chat that I sort of tend to do in January and not much else of the time, then yes, that's in a separate little video this time. So let me show you the advent calendars. There we go. That gets them all on screen. So I've got 2 in here. I know it's very extravagant, isn't it? So I got the beehive one that I've just showed you. Then I've got this side is the loom wool one. So I ordered the beehive one and I thought I'll get DK knit. That would make a nice change. And then I got this one here, which is the fibre fox one, which I think I eyed up the Christmas before. I thought, you know, it just looked really nice. I thought I must get one of those this year. So when that came out, I got this. And then I got, you know, and I got the beehive one. And then I saw that Loom Wool had one. And I think is this the first year they've done it? Maybe it's the second, I'm not sure. But when I saw Loom Wool had one, I thought, oh, I've got to get that as well. So yeah, I ended up getting 3. But yeah, really happy with those, really happy. I think this might be my favourite, the Fibre Fox one. Just all of these colours, sort of quite pastel and pale, and they just really speak to me at the moment. I just love them all. And then the Loom Wool, and I think this works as a kind of a gradient as well, if I remember correctly. Yes, it does actually. Works as, you know, the colours sort of flow nicely into each other, like the beehive one. And then the Loom Wool, it doesn't have that kind of colour flow. They're more just individual ones of individual colours. But I mean, there's some gorgeous colours in here. There's some darker ones that I'm less keen on, to be honest. I'm just not really particularly drawn to these really dark. There's quite a few sort of greys under there, which I'm less drawn to. But there's some gorgeous ones in here as well. And I also got the full skein of that. So these ones are all finger and weight yarn. So yeah, that's it. I thought I'd put them in here because it kind of looks pretty until I decide what I'm going to do with them. I'm thinking I would like to do a project which uses, you know, a single project which uses all of these because they just look so gorgeous and harmonious together. And then this one I think probably more likely to use separately in different things. I think I would imagine, because like I say, I'm not, if I was making one whole project, I'm not sure how much I would be wanting to put some of these darker colours in, but they could work sort of in things separately. So I think that's my plan. Right, well that's it from me, and my battery is running out, so I'm going to very quickly say goodbye. I'm not quite sure when I'll be back because obviously at the moment I'm having to see how it goes from week to week, but I'll be back as soon as I can. Look after yourselves, and I hope you find some nice crafty moments until we meet again. Bye!